So we last time we learned we had covered Perek Aleph and Perek Beis regarding Teshuva. Basically, the last thing that we did were the three different types of Teshuva. One which is completely inconsequential. One is which is somewhat effective, but really far from what needs to be. And then finally, the one that's rooted in consistency and true recognition of sin and true embarrassment. That is a sign of true tshuva, where the sin is not waiting to come back so quickly. It's truly a person truly recognized what they did wrong, and the person is working consistently to keep that sin far away. But now comes Perek Gimel. So, on the question of what are the critical factors that make tshuva possible, what does a person have to keep in mind to be in that mode of being able to do tshuva? Hiniona, I will answer. Ki tshuva misafsheres adam rak imbrurim lo tchilo shiva hadvarim dalalan. Tshuva is only possible if there are 7 particular points of clarity that a person has to have before tshuva can set in properly. And now he's going to go through these 7 different levels of understanding and awareness.
Tshuva is only possible
right.
If these 7 things
are clear in a person's mind. Correct. Hadav Rishon Hu. So the first thing a person needs to be to know and be aware of is sheida bi oifen baruch she'ochein asa es havera. Okay, some of these are very maybe obvious, but still need to be said, that the person needs to be convinced that he did the avera. If you're not sure you did what you are maybe thinking you did do, and if you're not certain about it, then you'll never bring the level of remorse of what you need to bear in this given situation. So you have to work on establishing a clear recognition that I indeed did something wrong. Kim hulo yodea zos bevados. This person is not 100% clear in his mind or her mind that they did this avera. I'm not sure. Did I do it? Didn't I do it? Did I take the item? Did I not take the item? You can't do tshuva for something that you're not even sure if you even did it, or if you even said it, or whatever the circumstances might be. If it's a little cloudy in your mind, then tshuva is not going to be possible. Maybe there's a thought, I did it, but I didn't really intend to do it. That wasn't what I was thinking. I had no idea that this was, what was going to happen. So it's a shogeg. It's completely unintentional. So again, very strong mitigating factors that are certainly going to play into a person's psyche to not allow the true feelings of tshuva to set in, because we're talking about a true recognition and true remorse and readiness to abandon the So it's got to be clear. If there's a doubt whether I did it, if there's a doubt whether I did it intentionally, it'll be impossible for a person to feel the true regret that a person needs to feel. As the pasuk says, "Kibshai ani eda," I'm aware of my sin. V'chatasi negdi samid, and the sin is forever opposite me. So you see the idea of eradicating a sin and doing tshuva has to come with the recognition that indeed I did it. If there's some lingering doubt about what I did or what I didn't do, then it's not going to work. So I guess the only real practical lesson for us is that we really have to think about it long and hard, make sure that we are convinced that indeed we're guilty. I guess maybe in our cases it's really not hard to get to that level, but certainly if we're not sure, it's going to make the tshuva much harder. Hadavar sheni hu, the second point of clarity is sheida shamaisa shu'asa hu ram umuchor. We have to be convinced in our hearts that the thing that we did is indeed terrible. It's a terrible thing. Because sometimes I did what maybe I shouldn't have done, but I didn't really see that it's so bad. What's so bad if I did it? So, and then we start rationalizing that which we did, even though we know that we did it, that's not the doubt anymore. And we know that we did it intentionally. What's wrong? After all, it's the person deserved the lashon hara. The person deserved to be spoken about. Whatever other thoughts that come into our minds about the fact that what I did, well, I did it, yes, but I'm a little bit proud of it. I don't see how it's such a big deal. Umashu Paul in a tov, and what the action was indeed not good. He says, one more time, Kim loy barlo kimash asura. If a person is not clear that what they did was indeed evil and bad, umashu Paul in a tov, and that which he effectuated was not good, there'll never be true regret. Again, regret is one of the key emotions that have to exist for tshuva. You have to feel terrible that you did something wrong. If you are unapologetic and you are, you sort of have this self-righteous approach to, to the things that you do, that's not tshuva. The person will not really accept upon themselves the real nuances of what tshuva is all about. Because the person is going to think that, worst case scenario, I have a din of shogeg, I have a din of an inadvertent type of a sinner, which in no way compares to the intentional sinner. And a person can justify what they're doing and feel that, it's not a big deal. Shemar Shigios Miyovin, who understands, who comprehends the Shigios, sort of the unintentional, the mistakes that people make, Ministaris Naikeni. From those things which are hidden from me, cleanse me. So you see that it needs an extra push. It needs something that David Melech has to be mispalel for, because if it's a nister, if I'm not really aware of what it is that I'm doing wrong, it does make the tshuva that much harder. So again, it's a question of inner introspection, because very often what happens is when we do the sin, we don't really feel it was a sin. We justify it all the time, based on whatever factors we use to justify what we did, and then we do tshuva. So are we really doing tshuva? We're paying lip service that we did something wrong, but we don't really believe it because we feel it's justified and it's not a big deal, and that is a problem. That definitely is poses a great impediment to doing tshuva. Hadavar shlishu, the third area and the third point, person has to, again, have total understanding that I deserve a punishment for what I did, and it's coming to me. The punishment is coming to me. If a person is able to somehow deflect the severity and the repercussions of one's action, I don't know if it's going to happen. Maybe, God will overlook this one. Again, the whole idea that it's not so bad. If the person is not totally convinced that there will be repercussions for his action, then there'll be no pressure to retract and to feel bad based on what I did, because it isn't like I have to. And if I don't, what's going to happen? If once a person's clear that onesh is waiting, that the punishment is waiting at the door, then that pressure of the punishment that I know is going to come pushes me to, oh my gosh, what did I do? I did a terrible sin. And I'm going to ask for forgiveness. Please, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, please forgive me. I don't want the negative result. I don't want the terrible results of what happens when a person sins. And again, we don't know exactly what is punishment and what's not for the things that happen. The Gemara does say that when things that are not good happen to a person, one should look into one's actions and assume that the reason why these difficult challenges are coming to me is because I need to do tshuva. I've done something wrong, and the Gemara says one should be introspective about one's activities, one's character, one's whatever misgivings or shortcomings they might have. But that's if you're convinced that there is something that's going to be coming at the door that's waiting in terms of punishment. Kamosha Kosel, as the Pasuk says, after I return, I regret When I come back to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, I want to do tshuva. I regret what I've done. Yachrei hivadi, and after it became, my sin became aware to me. I was made aware of it. Safakti al yorech. I hit myself on the thigh. I sort of, oh my gosh, what did I do wrong? That's a proverbial, slap on the head. My skin sort of, just prickles up out of fright, and I fear your judgments. So that is an important part. If there's no fear, if there's no sense of urgency, then that's, again, not going to push somebody to come forward and to feel that remorse. This takes hard work. It takes thought. It takes emotion. So if you're not feeling the pressure to bring that to bear in doing tshuva, then the tshuva is going to fall short. So the issue of punishment needs to be clear in a person's mind. I'm going to pay for the sin. And therefore, the longer that I delay doing tshuva, the more possible it is that repercussion is going to hit me, and that frightens me. And therefore, let me do it now so I can hopefully eradicate the sin and not have to deal with the punishment. Hadavar Ravi, what's number 4? She'eda ki achet shu asa shamulo. That another very important point, just like I know I'm going to get punished, I know that the sin is not going to be overlooked. It's written down in the official record books of sins, because Baruch Hu has that master computer that puts everything down and everything is recorded, and because Baruch Hu doesn't forget a thing. Hashem's not overlooking; He's not turning the other way. There's no such thing as as we hear from people. Oh, I have a special relationship with Baruch Hu. He knows me real well. I know him. He knows me, and we have this understanding that. As long as I do other things right, he's going to overlook these other shortcomings. Those types of rationales that people come up with. So, what?
I said it'd be nice. But...
Yeah, right. But that's not unfortunately, it's the way it is. That's not life. Life is, and MS is that you do something wrong, you have to pay the price. So it's waiting for him. It's sort of protected because Baruch was watching it and not letting it just sort of disappear into the air. Okay, v'nechta b'sefer v'nosav, and his sins are written down in a book. Hashem does not remove his focus from it. Nor does he forget the sin. Those kind of arguments don't hold any water. He's not just going to let it go. Hey, it's okay. Clemency, or what's it called? Pardon. Hashem's going to pardon me. No, that maybe Trump does that, but not HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Kamoshe Kosev halahu kamus imadi. Okay, it is stored with me. Chosum b'tzorasai, sealed in my warehouse. So HaKadosh Baruch Hu has these. Every single action that a person does is forever, imprinted upon the official historical ledger. Nothing gets overlooked. V'nemar biyad kol odom yachtoim. Everybody in their own hands seals their book, their particular chapter. To know all of man's actions, all of what he's done. So that's why Akash Baruch Hu has us, so to speak, sign on to what we did to make it very, very clear that we're fully aware. Ki im hu sover, because if this person is thinking ki mashu asa hu hefker, that it's loosey goosey. I did something wrong, but it's okay. Akash Baruch Hu understands, and it's sort of not. There's no ownership of what I've done wrong. Then a shamaloi, and it's not sort of being held in my account as something that I'm going to have to answer for. Then there's no compunction to feel bad. There's no, because again, we naturally gravitate in a direction where we don't want to have to recognize a sin. We don't want to have to feel bad. We'd rather not go through all that emotional turmoil. So if I can find an easier way to feel that the sin is done, you'll move in that direction, even though that direction might not be true at all. So if I don't feel that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is fully aware of the sin, I'm not going to feel. The person's not going to ask for compassion and for forgiveness. And the person is going to see, I didn't get any punishment yet. It must be that Kosh Baruch Hu overlooked it. Why didn't he just blast me right away? And that sort of will lead him in a direction to think that, so I'm not going to get punished at all. I didn't get punished yet, so once I didn't get punished yet, Kosh Baruch Hu it's a sign, it's a proof that Kosh Baruch Hu just is not concerned. It's okay. He has my back, and he's going to just erase the sin. As a pasuk in Koheles says, "Ashrei nasa pisga ma'aseh hara mehira," because there is not a immediate repercussion quickly for a person's sins. That's why the people have this feeling in their hearts that they can continue doing this sin, because there's no, you're waiting for lightning. I mean, I've heard people like that. I've heard stories like that where, teenager rebels and says, that's it, I'm upset, whatever it is. Things are not going so well for him. So I'm having a cheeseburger. I'm going to, eat treif, and I'm going to wait for Kosh Baruch Hu and see, whether Kosh Baruch Hu punishes me in that. And I'm still alive. I'm still okay. The lightning didn't strike me. So you see, it's no big deal. And how ridiculous that is, but that's where people's minds can go to that kind of a mentality that it's all going to be okay. No, it's not a problem. As the pasuk says, as we just read the pasuk in Koheles, and that will only fuel a person to do more sin. So number 4 is critical, that we have to understand that the punishment is going to come, and B, number 4 is that the sin is in front of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. It's not going away. It's not being washed to the side. It's not being erased. It needs to be dealt with. The only erasure that will be happens with Teshuva, but nothing short of that is going to remove that sin. Hadar Chamishihu, the 5th thing to keep in mind, a person needs to be absolutely convinced that the only way out of this difficult pickle of the sins that I'm doing is through tshuva. Tshuva is the answer to the sickness. That is the antidote. And it's the way back. It's the healing process from all of his negative actions and his repulsive deeds. Only that's the only way. Again, because if you feel there's another way to do it, then we're not going to pick this way. This is tough. This is a grind. This is really, looking in the mirror and really making a very strong cheshbon nefesh. That's not easy. So the Eitzar will definitely gravitate towards an easier path if the Eitzar thinks there is one. Because the easier path is going to be the ineffective path. But the Eitzar would like that. The Eitzar is going to push us in that direction. So we have to be absolutely convinced that there is only one way out, and that's through tshuva. Because only through tshuva can a person rectify the wrongs. And to complete that which was lacking in a person's avodas Hashem, the tshuva is what can fill up that void. And even though I didn't do it right, but it will make it right. Because if this is not absolutely clear to him that tshuva is the only way, well, because then there's another possibility. If a person doesn't believe that tshuva is effective, right? So I read originally it's the only way out, and I guess here he's also pointing out that it is a way out. Because the other alternative is maybe that there's no way out. Maybe there are people like that who take the more fatalistic approach, and I can't rectify this. I mean, tshuva is not going to work. I've already done the aver. I've already made HaKadosh Baruch Hu so angry at me. So why in the world should I think that I can, erase this with tshuva? It's not going to happen.
So you're saying they just forget it? Don't even try?
Yeah. That is what people do sometimes. If this is not clear, that tshuva is a viable option, it will not happen. HaKadosh Baruch Hu will not forgive me. There will never be any compassion from him. He's got my number. He's out to get me, and that's it. And if that's the mentality, the person is going to feel, I'm not asking for mechila. There's no point. What am I doing? An exercise in futility? I'm not, who am I trying to kid? It's not going to happen. And so you said, saying, Ki b'sheinu v'chadasenu aleinu, okay, our sins and our iniquities are upon us. Uvam anachnu namakim, and because of those sins, we are going to get eradicated. V'echnichya, how are we going to live? So there is this mentality that basically says, we're not getting expunged. We're not being able to redeem ourselves. It's beyond reproach, and I'm just done. It's very, very fatalistic. Ulam. But the truth of the matter is, Habori on al dvar meila. Because Baruch Hu answers this mentality and tells people, don't be foolish, don't be ridiculous, don't think for a second why because Baruch Hu doesn't want you back. It's a very famous pasuk in Yecheskel. Habori on al dvar meila ayidei neviyai. The Baruch Hu answers back this mentality through his Navi Yecheskel. Chayani num Hashem. I swear by my life, Akash Baruch Hu says, Num Hashem Lakim, if I want the death of the Rasha, I want him to return from his sin. I want him to do tshuva. I don't want people dying in his sin. That's why Akash Baruch Hu brought the Makos on the Mitzrayim, the Sephorna says, because he wanted the Mitzrayim to do tshuva. Till the very end, till the 9th Makkah, the 10th already was pure punishment. But through the 9th Makkah, the whole purpose of these Makos was for the Mitzrayim to recognize that God runs the world, and they wake up and they do tshuva. And this is after the Mitzrayim already perpetrated such crimes against the Jewish people. And yet HaKadosh Baruch Hu was saying, this is my goal, is that you come back to me. I'm not interested in wiping you out. I want you to come back. So if we understood HaKadosh Baruch Hu's relationship with us and how beloved we are to him, it wouldn't be hard to fathom. But unfortunately, because we have very often very negative self-esteem, we're not comfortable with ourselves, we don't feel good about ourselves, this is what happens. Okay, 2 more. Hadavar shishihu sheyasil atzmo cheshbon nefesh kama tovas habar osimo meodo adayom hazeh. Person needs, tshuva is definitely motivated by Koras HaTov, and a person needs to calculate all of the kindness of HaKadosh Baruch Hu that he did with us, each and every one of us, from the beginning of our existence till today. And instead of thanking HaKadosh Baruch Hu and recognizing the kindness, what do? We rebelled. We didn't care. We showed disregard for the Torah and for the mitzvos. And we did what we should not have done. So a person needs to calculate that and recognize, oh my gosh, look what I owed HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Look how I fell short. Keno love lishkol is oynish atzafel. So too a person needs to measure the punishment waiting for them bol mazau bol maba, both in this world and the next world avravonosav, because of the sins that the person commits. Neged anosh oyelo mehed versus the benefit, right? The net benefit and loss. We have to constantly be making ledgers in our mind about calculations. Is it worth it? Is it not worth it? What am I going to get out of this Avera? What am I going to lose? What am I going to gain from this mitzvah? What am I going to lose? And you have to, by constantly calculating this, person will always come to recognize it's a no-brainer that I do what I can to do tshuva and to do mitzvos and to stay away from sin. That will be a great motivating force. There's also what benefit that, so the benefit you get from an Avera and the punishment. Also, and on the other foot, you have to also measure the benefits of the mitzvah that you do versus the pain that's involved in doing it. And of course, when the person does that, when the person makes these calculations, clearly what we see and what we derive from that is that doing a mitzvah pays beyond anything that we could ever imagine. The schar in the next world and the schar in this world is unimaginable, and the averas store up and become tremendous impediments. So, to whatever extent we could just get completely focused on that type of calculation, that's going to allow us again to be motivated to do tshuva and to hopefully not fall into the trap again. Kamosh Omer Rabbeinu Zal, like the famous Mishnah of us says, Have a machashev hefsed mitzvah k'netz chara, calculate the loss of a mitzvah against its reward, u'schar aver k'neged seda, and the reward of an avera against its loss. Is it really worth it? Is it really worth it? What do you have? You have a few minutes of pleasure, and or some kind of somebody speaks Lashon Hara and it feels good, just coming out. We're able to vent a little bit, but then what? What do we have after it's all said and done, and the passion subsides, and all you have is this feeling that I did something terrible. So when you calculate that, and then you also put into that calculation the incredible kindnesses of HaKadosh Baruch Hu from the beginning of our lives till today, then hopefully that's a great motivating factor to show true remorse. That's number 6. Number 7, the 7th and final thought that one has to have in mind in order for tshuva to be able to be mobilized within a person. Okay, change is hard. We know it's hard, and a person needs tremendous chizuk to remove themselves from those sins that they have been involved until now. And one of the prerequisites, as we'll learn soon, one of the prerequisites to tshuva is azivas achet. We have to leave. If we're going to keep doing the same sin again and again, then how are we actually coming to Hashem showing remorse when we keep doing what we say we feel terrible about? How terrible can you feel if you keep going back to it? So one of the key elements of tshuva is the cessation of that act, not to do the aver. Not to speak to Lashon Hara, not to, go to that place, not to see that thing, whatever it is that we're doing tshuva for, our job is to stop it. So that takes very hard work. So number 7, one has to move themselves into a level where I'm not going back there anymore. I can't do this. It's not acceptable for me. So one more time, she's chazik mo lizbol satzar shalivas hara shumurgobo. I'm very ingrained in this. I've been very comfortable in doing this a lot. So for me to stop is not going to be easy, but it has to happen. And tielo hachlata nechusha beliboy umatzpunov losu mimenu. And there needs to be an absolute clarity in one's heart, the deepest inner recesses of a person's heart. This is not where I want to go. I'm leaving this sin. I'm not going back. And that's why if, the Rambam says, if a person's not resolved not to go back, it's like you jump into the mikveh, you got a sheretz in your hand. What good is the mikveh when I'm holding on to a sheretz, I'm holding on to a dead rodent? So you have to let go of the sin. If you're holding on to the sin, then what is your tshuva? What is your tshuva saying? It really is not saying anything of any import. Doesn't really make sense. Kmo shekasa, as a pasuk in Yoel says, "V'kiru levavchem v'al bigdechem." HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, "I don't need you tearing your clothing. Tear your heart. That's what I need. I need your heart. I need that you remove that foreskin from your heart." And that's the key to HaKadosh Baruch Hu's relationship with us and us coming back to Him. He needs us to be sincere. And if we're not sincerely resolved to not go back to that sin and to actually move away from that sin and to not, it's like, I guess somebody, have going through, rehab or remission or whatever it's called, when you go off the drugs. Detox, whatever it's something.
I think of what it's called.
No, it's part of
like
the residential experience what you're describing.
Right, but there's a word for it.
Right here.
Yeah. When you're weaned off the drugs and you...
but you're crazy from it.
Yeah, right.
Like,
whatever. Okay, but the point is...
what we're talking about.
Yeah. But the point is that's hard. And when you're accustomed to an Avera, it takes tremendous strength for a person to say, I'm not going back there. I'm stopping. And that needs... He's chazik, that's the language of the Chavos Havos. Withdraw, thanks. She's chazik miod. Okay? Person needs to have tremendous strength to be able to do that. So then his last statement in Paragimel is, Im shivas advorim halolu chakulkim techila heitev b'das achote. If these 7 things are inscribed first in the mind of the sinner, Then it's possible. We have a few other things to accomplish, but then it begins. Then it's possible. These fundamental aspects of awareness and commitment need to be there, and then tshuva will then be possible. If it's not there, if any of these 7 are not there, then there's going to be a gap, a hole in that wall, that wall of commitment, the wall of basically standing strong to look at oneself properly, will fall apart if all these 7 things are not there. Okay, so let's just dive a little bit into Perik Dalid. So Ikronos Hayesod Shel Tshuva Hem Arba. There are 4 fundamental principles of tshuva. This is somewhat familiar stuff if we've done the Rambam a little bit, and over the past we've Shabbos Shir and other places we did do the Rambam Minchas Tshuva a number of times. Well, this is certainly the same principles that the Rambam talks about, and it's all really rooted from the Gemara in terms of what are the exact steps, what are the exact emotions that a person needs to do and feel in order for tshuva to be effective. There are 4 different components of tshuva. Aleph, she's choret alvana shasa. You need remorse. You need to feel bad. Charata. If you don't have charata, if you're people who want to do tshuva, but when they talk about their college days and all the partying they did, they have this smile on their face, and they're relishing the good old days when they did this and they ate that. And if that's how you look at it, with a big smile, as if those were the good old days, that tshuva is not possible. Okay, because you have to look at those things from a point of view. Now, granted, maybe you didn't know at the time, but certainly if you did know and just didn't care, those are actions that should be looked at with horror. I can't believe I did that. How did I allow myself to fall into that trap? How didn't I realize that this is so unacceptable? So you need to be overwhelmed by a sense of remorse. I feel terrible by what I did. That's number 1. Number 2, sheyazav asam yasamhem. You got to stop, like we just said. You got to desist. You got to back away from the sin. If you don't back away from the sin and you're still involved in it, clearly what you're doing is not effective, and the feelings you have are not going to really count for much. Gimel, she is vadish asosam, vivakish sichaleim. You need vidui, of course. You need the oral confession. You need to say, I'm sorry. You have to verbally state that you feel terrible that you sinned. One might argue that isn't it superfluous? If I feel bad, what do I have to verbalize it? I mean, isn't the emotion enough? And apparently it's not. There's another dimension when you actually say, I'm sorry. When you actually say, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, I feel terrible, please forgive me.
It's for that particular hate.
Yes.
That you did. Okay,
Yeah.
Avera.
Exactly. Correct. Okay, that's number 2. So number 1 is that you feel bad. Number 2 is that you leave it. I'm sorry, that's 3. Number 1 is that you feel bad. Number 2 is that you leave it. And number 3 is that you say vidui. You verbally confess. And number 4, sheikabel al atzmo beliboy umatzpuno shel yaso samod. You have to have this inner acceptance and resolve. It's not going to happen anymore. So it's 2 things. It's not just, I'm not going to do it right now because I don't have the wherewithal. But as soon as I get back to the place where I can sin, I plan on sinning again. So you can have a zivas echet without kabbalah la'asid and the acceptance upon the future not to involve myself in the avera. So desisting is really not enough. It needs to be, it's very similar, but one is actually stopping to do the sin, and the next step is to commit that I'm not going to be doing it anymore. That is pretty much, it's like the flip side of that of the coin. One is that I'm stopping, and number 2 is I'm committing to not start again, and that I'm going to stay in this position, B'ez Hashem, forever. Okay, so the person accepts upon themselves in their hearts, in their inner core, not to do the sin anymore. Okay, those are the 4. The Rambam really says it as 3, and then he just says that when you do vidu, you have to do the other 3. So there is a little bit of a difference, because here he sort of puts them together as 4 equal parts of tshuva. In the Rambam, there seems to be 3 parts of tshuva, and the vidui, the confession seems to almost be like sort of incidental. When you feel bad, then this is what you need to do the tshuva process. So it seems there's a little subtle difference between the 2 approaches, but certainly, but all 4 of these aspects are mentioned in the Rambam as well. Okay, let's just do the little more. Now, charat is critical because when you feel bad about something, it's a true sign that what you did, you recognize what you did is repulsive. It's repulsive in my eyes because why am I feeling bad? So if you're overwhelmed with a sense of shock and horror as to what you did, clearly that's an indication that what you feel that what you did is terrible. Whoever is aware of a sin returns and feels bad. And about somebody who doesn't feel bad and continues doing the sin, Nemar ein ish nicham aroso. There are those people who just don't feel bad. They don't regret. They don't feel any remorse. So it's a litmus test. If you feel bad, it's a sign that you've got a good recognition that what you did was unacceptable. If you don't feel bad, then even though you might be asking for tshuva, but again, it's not coming from that point of truth that you really understand that what you did was wrong. And this is similar, he says, the way it is even nowadays in relationships. We see this in actual interpersonal relationships. When you see somebody sinning against a friend, and you show that you feel terrible that I sinned against you, okay, that is a very strong motivator for the person to truly forgive him. And I've heard people over the years sort of say that. Well, I don't feel like forgiving him because I don't really sense that he feels bad. He came over to you. He said, "Please forgive me." He said, "I'm sorry." He didn't really mean it. It didn't come from a sense of like the depth of his heart that he feels horrible that he did this to me. So right away, so it's sort of mayim upon him. The way we face each other, the way we connect to each other, the sincerity that we have towards one another, that is going to cause the other person or the other power to come closer. If we truly have that remorse, the Kodesh Baruch Hu senses that remorse and is more compelled to forgive us. If we can't bring that emotion to bear, just like a regular person is reluctant to forgive another person who doesn't feel so bad, here it's the same way. Okay, I think Azivas Teched is a good place. So we've got basically...
The whole parak.
What?
Didn't we do the whole Gimel?
No, we finished.
I'm saying we did Gimel and parak.
Yeah, we did. Yes. Yeah, Baruch Hashem, we covered some ground. Okay, we'll pick this up as Hashem after Pesach, and we'll go.
We learned